Welcome to the Omni Talk Fast 5, sponsored by Fast Sensor and Takeoff. Today is December 10th, 2020. I am your host, Chris Walton, and I am joined, as always, by Ann Mazinga and Emma the Intern. How are you guys doing today?
Hey, it's another day in December, Chris. We've made it another week.
This week, this has probably been my least favorite week of the year. Whatever that saying is, that everything can go wrong, will go wrong, that's this week. A bot attacked the website today. I think I finally got that. The OmniTalk site today, we had just crazy traffic. I think 100,000 hits on the website this morning. So we had to get that figured out. I think I've got that stabilized. Who knows? I'll probably be checking chat lines as we're doing this. But man, I don't know. And Emma the Intern, you're famous now. I cannot tell you how many people each week stop and say to me, that Emma the Intern, that is pretty cool what you got going on there. So how are you dealing with this newfound fame in the world of retail punditry?
I feel pretty good. I mean, I have no complaints. I like that people like what I have to say.
Are you walking around on campus with your head held high in that master's program at University of Minnesota? Of course, I would assume you're walking on campus.
I was going to say, I haven't actually been to campus since the spring semester, but I would say more so on LinkedIn, I'm holding my head up high.
Nice.
Virtually.
This pandemic's over. You're going to come. You're going to go back to school and people are going to be like, that's Emma the Intern from OmniTalk. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. But speaking of amazing, we've got an awesome show today. We're going to talk a little Walmart and their failures in VR. I can't wait for that. We're going to lead the show with that. Some online banking with Stripe, text messaging and shopping. Of course, discuss a little Amazon. And then we're going to close with an homage to the Ikea catalog. It was a sad day this week, my friends, a sad, sad day. And a big thank you to everyone that tuned in last week. We had a ton of chatter on Kohl's and Sephora, on LinkedIn, on email. Thanks to loyal listeners like Jay Perlman, who chimed in with his thoughts where it all sounds great, but at the end of the day, there just might not be anything Kohl's can do despite what they try to put inside those four walls. We're going to be watching that closely, but great to hear how excited everyone was when we covered that story. Before we get going, though, I do have a question. I got to put Emma the Intern on the spot. And I might put you a little on the spot with this one, too, although this is more in your ballywick, so to speak.
Yeah.
Chuck Yeager passed away this week, 97 years old. Again, not a great week, but 97 years old. Who is Chuck Yeager?
I have no idea.
And
no.
Oh my gosh. It's not like he broke the speed of sound, the sound barrier at all or anything like that.
By doing
just
what?
The most
running?
famous test pilot of all time. He was in The Right Stuff. You ever see that movie, The Right Stuff?
I'll put it on my quarantine list.
My father revered him. God bless his soul. Both of them now. God bless both their souls. Revered him. But yes, the man that broke the speed of sound passed away today. So we need to pay him our respects. All right. And to do that, we're going to talk retail headlines. So first up, Walmart. Walmart announced this week that they have shut down Insperience. That's a cool name. The Los Angeles-based VR startup formerly known as Spatialand, because, the second name is better than the first. If you remember, Walmart acquired Spatialand in early 2018 and operated it underneath its store number 8 incubator program. Now, Walmart spokesman did confirm the closure for Protocol, who released the news, but they did not comment on any layoffs. Now, if you remember, this whole thing started in 2017. Walmart contracted Spatialand to do a VR showcase for one of their store number 8 Innovate conferences. Then they were acquired, and then they started exploring VR shopping. Then they changed the name in 2020, and blah. It's now shuttered. Now, Walmart spokesperson had this to say, quote, what we have learned about virtual reality applications in retail and the current opportunity for VR-enabled commerce has been invaluable. We will continue to explore opportunities within mixed reality, among other areas, while keeping the Walmart customer at the center of our expectations. End quote. And what do you think of this one?
Well, back in 2017 and 2018, you can't really fault Walmart. I mean, it was like the early days of social media.
I think you can.
Oh, I don't know. I think
Really?
I think you almost had to have a box check that says yes, we're a major company in the United States. And yes, we have somebody working on VR. Like, it wasn't well strategized or planned, I don't believe, but I think that they were going in there and they're like, we gotta do something with it. I don't know that it makes sense. I mean, for us, we talk about this all the time. I think that, it's not a bad thing to do some testing, like explore for sure. But I think that a common theme that, I'm seeing for the show this week even, and that we're starting to see right now, is retailers defunding R&D type projects to focus on what the immediate customer need is right now. And I'm sure that it was a big amount of resources and expense to have this whole thing going on. And we still don't really see this like trend taking off with VR. I don't think in retail, like, again, we'll say it until like gaming and porn becomes more of a VR thing that people are willing to invest in. I just don't see people like running to do VR shopping. So I think it makes sense that they're cutting this program and going to put it towards smarter tech and this investment in stores.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I mean, I think it's a great move. I think this thing's been a clown car from the get-go. I mean, I've written about this a couple times now, and we were on this topic early. Like, why are you guys doing this? This is going to be a gigantic waste of money. This is where I don't agree, where I don't think all testing is good testing. I think this was quite frankly just silly. And the amount of hype they were trying to get around it, if you remember a couple years ago, in terms of trying to do it, training dragons in the parking lots and stuff like that. What I found really telling is that quote from the spokesperson too. We're going to explore opportunities in mixed reality. Like, mixed reality is not necessarily VR. And we've always said there's opportunities for mixed reality in retail, but VR, no way. And the thing for me too, and Ann, you kind of hit on this as well. Like, there were a lot of pundits out there saying like, coronavirus is here. Let's go invest. You should be investing in VR. If you're not, you're going to be behind. That was like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, personally, like, if you were saying that on social, you lost credibility with me immediately. Like, because that is just, you are playing and pandering to whatever the thing is of the moment. It doesn't make sense. And you're right. Like, until you're doing it in porn or video games, it ain't going to happen for retail. And even when it does, it's going to be a shift in digital. It's not going to be a substitute for stores. So come on, let's get real. Emma, any concluding thoughts here? Emma the Intern, younger generation on VR. I mean, are we, Ann and I, just missing this completely?
No, I wanted to believe in VR. Like, back when I started the retail merch program, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. But now that we're, many months into a pandemic, and I think people still prefer to shop in person over online, I just think like VR didn't take off, and I don't really think it's going to.
Yeah, and it has a ton of applications and things outside of shopping for retailers. Like, when you think of store design and things of that nature that are more kind of in the back office or how you do things day to day. But like, this whole like shopping by VR right now, like I couldn't agree more with just the massive amount of investments they were doing. And by the way, what store number 8, like, what has really happened from that since it was formed? It's still pretty hard to tell that too, if we're keeping score.
I don't know.
And last thought.
I don't hate it. I mean,
I hated this one. Really?
No, I mean, the story makes sense to me. I'm saying like store number 8, like it's an R&D arm, and I feel like we're going against our background if we're like, you shouldn't have an R&D arm.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that. I just said you're right. Good clarification. The bets that were placed early within the store number 8 program were not the right bets.
The only place that I would still be exploring VR if I was Walmart is in the entertainment area. If they're really looking to like build up their entertainment, and you start to think about just all of the like cluster that's
100%.
happening with like gaming right now, and the consoles being shipped out but no games to be applied there. Like, if they want to start exploring gaming and how they get their own streaming channel as part of like a Walmart Plus program, I would still have eggs in that basket, but
Totally.
for shopping, no.
Totally. So let's move on. Let's move on to something that, as I said, I think is decidedly not cool, to something that is actually, I think, incredibly cool and transformative. So Emma.
All right. I thought you were going to say this story was not cool, and I was like, oh no.
Oh no, I think this is amazing.
So WhatsApp has introduced a new shopping feature called Carts, which allows users to shop from businesses through direct messages. So some background on this and how it works. So with Carts, customers can browse a catalog, select multiple products, and send the order as one message to a business. The new feature adds a shopping button, which looks like a storefront icon, to access a business catalog. And then when you're visiting that business catalog, WhatsApp users can click on the Message a Business button to start a conversation, or use the add to cart option to place an order with the business. I think this is so cool. I utilize chat functions on different retailers' websites all the time. And I love that they're trying to implement that. Just put it all in one cart. You can buy it all in one place. And WhatsApp is so like universally used. I think that this is definitely awesome.
So Emma, I gotta ask, for all the Emma the Intern fans out there who are talking to me about you every day, who are like, yeah, I love that like younger Gen Z perspective. Like, what are you, when you say you're chatting with retail brands all the time, like what are you doing? Paint that picture for us.
Usually if I'm going to use that kind of function, it's if I'm looking at a product and I just kind of have a question, which is usually like clothing or shoes, I'll be like, do these fit true to size? Or what's the inseam on this? And it just allows me to get a better understanding of what I'm trying to purchase. You know, I want to know that it's going to fit if I'm going to invest the money. And the people on the chats can answer all of those questions.
So you're in the funnel chatting already. Like that,
Yes.
this isn't like a post-purchase customer service chat interaction. You're like in the purchase funnel trying to make decisions. Okay, that's huge. I hope everyone listening really recognizes this.
And I have a clarifying question for you, Emma. What's your expected response time from this chat?
I usually only do the chats if it's live, like they can answer right then and there. I've done a couple where I want to know if something's ever going to come back in stock that I'm willing to like wait for the person to respond. But usually I like to have the live, if it's during normal business hours, have the live chat.
Sure. And you find that that's consistent across most of the sites that you're
Most of
exploring.
them. Yes.
See, go ahead, Chris.
No, you go. I think you
I was just
keep
gonna say
finishing with that point, please.
that's the question that's still outstanding for me here is, you know, obviously many of these larger sites have bots that are able to, you know, respond or that can predict answers to questions. We've seen, you know, tons of people in that space. But my question is around, you know, WhatsApp being a platform for small businesses, and what's now the expectation from the small businesses to respond to those chats? Because I think I love this from like a commerce should be happening across more platforms, and just the whole like innovation of it. But, you know, my questions still come down to, and one other clarifying thing about this is that while you're able to batch an order and send it, you're still not transacting in that WhatsApp transaction. So there's still somebody on the other end that has to process that transaction. And I know it's still early days, but I think it's just those two things. I think if you're really going to be the platform for small business, what's the expectation from the small businesses, and how should myself as a WhatsApp, you know, retailer be thinking about how I strategize for that?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, yeah, you're hitting on too. Like, yeah, what is the automation of commerce within the text messaging platform, right? Like I think that's the unlock. And we've talked about that for a long time too, that, you know, we think that, you know, text messaging and e-commerce are probably going to be that one of those next frontiers of commerce platforms. And for what it's worth, we had an awesome conversation yesterday. We will be releasing soon on email as another potential commerce platform that goes right along with this conversation. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. But you're right, and yeah, like from a small business perspective, or even from a consumer perspective, how do you automate that quickly? What does the user flow? What does the interface look like inside of that? I think is the big question. The thing I always think about with this story, if you're a loyal listener of the show, all of our Spotlight series, every time we interview someone, we ask them the same three questions, right? It's our kind of like nod to inside the actor studio. And the one question we always ask people at the end is, what's the one social media app that you use? And one of the answers that I always remember, and it was from Thong Nguyen, who specializes in VR, believe it or not, but VR for design, said, my favorite social app is text messaging. Mm-hmm. And he threw that curveball at us so well, because I had never thought about that. And that is true. Text messaging is by far and away the app that we use to socialize the most. It's not Facebook, it's not Instagram, it's actual text messaging. And so tapping into that for commerce, there's something there. There's a huge there, as one of our buddies would say. And so that's what I'm fascinated by. And the fact that we're now seeing this come to play, in addition to all the stuff we've had with Instagram shops and whatnot over the last few weeks, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think that, the thing about messaging with Thong said, and I think which is a consistent theme, messaging or emails, is that everybody's used to that platform. It's part of your natural behavior to be communicating with people that way and to expect responses or get more information in that way from, your local donut shop, which Mrs. Omnitalk contacted via DM at 10:30 at night to make sure that you can pick up donuts the next morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, to the major mass retail out there. Like, this is something that you should be putting resources and effort towards if you're any kind of retailer.
Yeah, it seems like a great thing to start exploring. And I think one of the other things I've learned after doing this for 3 or 4 years is if you don't start the experimentation, it's really hard to catch up. And that's why we rail on like the things with VR too. It's like, that's not the place to be experimenting. Use your money to experiment on the things where you really will get behind if you aren't thinking about it in the right way. So, all right, let's hit story number 3. Anne, I think that's yours if I'm not mistaken.
It is, yes.
Okay.
So Stripe has announced that they are going to be getting into the business of embedded business banking with a service they're calling Stripe Treasury. So Stripe, the fintech startup, I don't know that I would still consider them a startup, but whatevs. Most commonly known for payments processing.
Like $100 billion.
I don't know when you flip that switch, but anyway, they're most commonly known for payments processing. They will be able to provide bank accounts to their customers, namely Shopify. So Shopify announced that they will be using Stripe Treasury to power Shopify Balance. Now, I feel like there's like 7 degrees of the story. Shopify
right. Yeah, where's
Balance,
Kevin Bacon in this story?
Right. Shopify Balance is a program that Shopify rolled out earlier this year that provides Shopify merchants with faster access to capital and the ability to do all of their business faster and easier, because the banking part of it, the capital funding for their business, is all confined into one system. So the service is invite only for now. And Stripe is saying that they do not want to become a bank. It's partnering with banks like Goldman Sachs and Evolve to help get this off the ground. But what I think is important to note here is that we're seeing this trend continue of trying to embed payments, embed checkout. Like, how do you make it so that from a retailer's perspective and from a customer perspective, you can stay in the experience that you're in and not leave it and be able to do all of the things. And especially, when you talk about platforms like Shopify, BigCommerce, and others, like, they have everything to gain from keeping your business banking in-house. You look at all the, the per transaction fee that they're collecting. You look at, all of the fees that they're getting, interest they're accruing from having, these companies have bank accounts with them now, instead of like having to feed in a bank and all of the other things that have to happen operationally for businesses to run. If they can keep that in-house, they own it all. They own all the information about how these transactions are going down. And in the end, it can end up being better for the merchants too, because those fees hopefully are getting condensed as the business scales.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about that too. Like, yeah, there's some real stickiness to this when you start talking about I'm a business and my bank is through my commerce platform.
Right.
That's going to be a hard switch. I wonder if you'll start to see like regulations come into play, like anti-competition regulations, like we saw with Microsoft and browser embedding, in the late 90s, as they start to talk about this. Fascinating. You love this though, don't you? Like, are you like a 10 on this?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Shopify Balance program in general. I mean, I just think that it's kind of challenging the way that traditional banks are doing business, and they're trying every way that they can to make it simpler for their merchants. So,
well, put that in perspective, because I don't think people really possibly, if you haven't tried to do that, I don't think people really understand the importance of this too, of like setting up a bank account as a new business. Especially, and you'd think it'd be easier in the coronavirus in some ways, because you don't have to go into a bank, and now they have processes stood up to do that. Like, how involved was that? Like, how hard was it for you to do that for Urban Rooster, let's say?
I mean, it was a total disaster. I mean, we're working with a national bank. You'd think that they'd have the systems in place during a pandemic when, but they wanted me to come into a branch, and every single person who's involved with the account to come into a branch and set it up. And that's just like the setup of an account. That's not even like going to the bank for loans for your business. And like Shopify Balance is looking at, your past purchase history and sales data and allowing you to get loans or get capital, in a matter of minutes, because they can see that you have a viable business going. It's not trying to prove to giant national bank or even small local bank, like, I have a business model here, I need some capital to keep it going. Like, Shopify is trying to streamline that whole process. And I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, and I'm gonna call it what it is. Like, Wells, look it out, because you got competition coming here. Like, it took us a freaking month to set up a bank account. Like, that is ridiculous in today's day and age. Like, it shouldn't happen, and you can see why this is coming. Like, you can see why there's so innovation here. The other thing I like about this, the name, it's just Stripe Treasury. It's not like, Stripe Penetrobe or whatever those hell else names we said or whatever, it's just factual. Like, here's what the hell it is, take it or leave it. We're going to do it. We're going to change the world. Boom, done.
Treasury
like
doesn't have a $sign instead of the S. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's not treasure with the -Y, something like that, on the spot. But like, I just respect that, because there's too much of that crap out there. All right, let's keep moving. I got story number 4. This is quick, and then we'll get to the Ikea story at the end. But hey, we talked about it last week, and holy crap, it's already happened. Amazon opened up another grocery store. This time, as of today, they are now operating Amazon Fresh in Chicago. So they opened up a 35,000 square foot store today in Naperville, Illinois. It is Amazon's 5th Fresh location. If you remember, there's 4 other ones in California. And they've also confirmed plans to go into New Jersey. So just putting that into perspective, everyone, that is 3 states in 1 year. Amazon will have large grocery store operations in 3 states in 1 year. I wrote about this in Forbes yesterday. I released the article. Personally, I think Amazon going into full-scale grocery stores is the biggest story of 2020. And Emma, do you agree, or would you throw something else into the mix?
Emma, you loved this story last week. You were all about Amazon grocery ride or die. What, are you still feeling that way?
Yeah, I'll say that the next time I do the Minnesota to New York drive, I will absolutely go out of my way just to stop at the Chicago suburb of Amazon Fresh. And New Jersey, even if they make it to New Jersey by the time I do that.
Well, that's the hometown. You got to stop there. Anne, would you put this at the top of the list?
Okay, well, first I have to ask if any of you watch the show Big Mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there was a recent episode in this last season where they're showing what the world looks like in like 2052, and one of my favorite scenes from the movie or from the show was like they're arresting somebody, like the world's ending, and there's like Amazon police force, and behind you it's like Amazon meats, and like everything is just Amazon controlled, which I loved that little hint. But I think that this is, like you said, Chris, one of the biggest things of 2020, for sure going to continue into 2021. I mean, if I'm placing any predictions, it's like this is going to be a huge mark on the 2021 timeline for the grocery industry. And I think it's the beginning of a massive shift in how things are done. There's a quote in the Chain Storage article that I pulled out because I think it's very special to discussing this topic. They talk about this Amazon Fresh store as a store that's designed to appeal to a shopper looking for the best of everything, the best product mix, the best technology, and the best shopping experience. And they're also hitting price on that, which they don't include in there. Like, they just announced all of these prices that they're going to have in this new Chicago store. And it's like 15-cent bananas. It's all these other deals, like $2.69 for a 12-pack of Coke. Like, all these basic needs that people have from both the name brands and from their own brands, they've got price, value, convenience, technology, like all wrapped into one. And who in the hell is going to be able to compete with that? Like, and they're only going to get better. Like, they're just going to keep collecting all this data. And if they need more organic produce in one store, they'll go leverage and tap the Whole Foods line. Like, it's just, they've got it figured out. So you like
this. That's what you're saying?
I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned for the rest of the grocery industry because what happened in that Big Mouth episode is not going to be 2052. I think it's going to be 2022 that we're looking at some serious grocery changes and issues.
Anne's got the tinfoil hat on again. She's got the tinfoil hat on. I don't think you're far off. I mean, for me, looking back at 2020, it was this close 1 and 2, neck and neck. This with just how aggressively now Facebook is going into commerce. It was those, and then everything else was a distant second. And you can try and tell me it's about curbside pickup or something like that. Sorry, it's not. That was already there. It was already happening. It was going to happen anyway. Like, sure, it's maybe exploded, and retailers are, finally seeing what they have to do. But like, those are the two really, I think, big, like, decade changers where 2020, 2030 is going to look really different on those sides of things. And actually now, all the different things you have to stand up on fulfillment underneath that, especially like with Facebook and whatnot, and Instagram, and Amazon and its marketplace, like that's going to still change everything completely, especially when you throw Shopify into the mix too. All right. Whoa.
Let's go in the other direction. Let's talk about
need a cigarette
the old
on
things.
this, man. This was tough. I thought today's topics were a little like, oh, okay, but man, I'm feeling I need some refraction time. All right, Ann, you go. What's the last one here?
All right, you guys, I have some sad news. Ikea is closing the book on its iconic printed catalog. After 70 years of shipping the Ikea catalog, sadly, it's dying now. And I don't know about you guys, but you know what I have to say? You know what doesn't require translation into 32 languages and cost an additional roughly ballpark $100 million to produce yearly? A website. So sayonara, days of the catalog for Ikea. I'm not going to miss you. And I don't think that Gen Z is either. But Emma, Chris, what do you think?
I would love to see the actual funeral procession for the catalog drawn out with like a sketch, like in the IKEA instruction manuals of how this works. Like, I think that would be really funny, or to draw a pictorial of the meeting that they had to make this decision. But I don't know. What do you think? I don't think I'm going to miss it that much. Emma, what do you think?
I'm probably biased just because I came into the University of Minnesota as an interior design major. So I will miss this. I love home furnishings catalogs. However, if they put each one, they make it, but they just put it on the website, or they put all of the archives on their website, that'll suffice for me.
But you still want a printed catalog?
A little bit. It's a rare exception just for home furnishings. I don't really care about anything else.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I do tend to look at those kinds of things when I get them in the mail, and I do think that has an impact on where you purchase things, especially for that category, which I know fairly well. And I'm curious, so I gotta go a little pop culture here. Is there anything in your mind? I'm asking a leading question here because I want to tell you what mine is. But is there anything that comes to your mind when you think of the IKEA catalog? What's the first mental association you make with the IKEA catalog?
I guess nothing. I don't make it a mental. So I'm not it's not a category, but you obviously have something, so share.
Well, I'm curious how many people out there have this too. I think this might jog you a little bit. What I always think of is Fight Club. Do you remember the scene in Fight Club where Edward Norton plans his whole life around the IKEA catalog and then decorating his house? Emma's shaking her head. I
actually know that one. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I always think about that. It was 1999, I think, was when that movie came out, maybe 2000. And it was this coming of the age thing. None of us knew what it was. Then all of a sudden IKEA exploded, and it was all about that catalog. And so to not have that anymore, takes that little piece of nostalgia out of my life, which quite frankly, I'm probably no worse off for, but that's at least, what I'm thinking about. But, I think it just shows you where everything, is for sure moving.
Well, catalogs are not dead. I mean, there's science that's out of what that make a case for direct mail still to be a thing. I don't think that Gen Z is going to stand for this with the sustainability of, all of the what is it, 200 million versions of this catalog that were sent out, and just the expense. I think that, you're starting to see everybody again. It's this shift of what can we get rid of? What money can we free up to really focus on technology? There's a story today, even McDonald's, they said they're going to stop paying their franchisees for the Happy Meal toys because they want the franchisees to allocate those funds towards better technology in the stores. You're not getting a return on the investment. And certainly the carbon footprint that it's leaving behind is, I just think the Gen Zs are not going to go with that. But I mean, you look at restoration hardware too in this home furnishings category.
yeah.
Maybe it's just the category specifically where like they have zero digital presence. They are not online. They're not on social. They're like nothing. They have their website, but no social presence. And they're still sending out their giant coffee table catalogs. So there's still definitely a use. I think we're going to start to see more and more companies cutting R&D, cutting excessive catalog deliveries, especially with Ikea seeing like a 45% increase or whatever this year in online sales. So sayonara.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like, yeah, it's an interesting point. Like, people are just going to start doing that and going hard after the things they know the table stakes things they know they have to do. Which,
like,
you know,
text
when their
commerce.
guns pressed to their head. Well,
right. Like, don't
you
want to
throw
know
that in that? Well, I don't even know if I throw that in the mix, but like the things that are really, you know, built around like all the flexible types of fulfillment that you need to have and
or
whatnot.
stores and stuff. Yeah, like Ikea.
Yeah, how do you redesign the stores to make this all work, like all that kind of stuff too. But yeah, no, I don't know, it's fast. We'll see. Like, it's funny how the pendulum swings too. So like the fact that Emma the intern here, the youngest member of the OmniTalk staff, is saying like, I'm gonna kind of miss this. You know, I'm curious if you don't see the swing back where maybe there's something that comes back down the pipe later on. You know, for every trend, there's a counter trend. So, you know, we'll see what happens. All right, well, that wraps us up. Thanks so much for sticking with us today. A big happy birthday to one of my favorite actresses from Entourage, Emmanuel Chriquet, Michael Schoffling. Any idea who Michael Schoffling is?
No.
Oh, you'll know in a second. He was the beau in 16 Candles. I think the dude turned like 60 today. He's like everyone's favorite one-hit wonder, which I don't even know what you call a one-hit wonder in acting.
Do you guys watch?
Loves him.
I'm throwing in another show, but do you watch the David Letterman interviews? Did you see the Robert Downey Jr.? He was talking about Anthony Michael Hall being like one of his best friends. Oh man, time has not been kind to that guy. I didn't even recognize him. Like all these actors from the like 80s, man, they're hardly recognizable anymore.
Yeah,
fame.
He looks
Emma,
a little different.
Stay young. With all your fame, you got to stay young. Don't turn out like one of these 80s actors or actresses.
That's right. You definitely do not. And remember, even more importantly, if you only read or listen to one retail blog in the business, make it OmniTalk. Our Fast Five podcast is the quickest, fastest rundown of all the week's top news, and our twice weekly newsletter tells you the top 5 things you need to know each day, and also features special content exclusive to us and just for you, all within the preview pane of your inbox. You can sign up today at www.omnitalk.blog. Thanks for always listening in. Please remember to like and leave us a review wherever you happen to listen to your podcast or on YouTube. And of course, from Anne, from Emma the Intern, and from me, be careful out there. The OmniTalk Fast 5 is brought to you by Fast Sensor. Fast Sensor is the first AI-powered business intelligence platform that provides business owners with ROI-focused optimization tools tailored to fit your organization. With Fast Sensor, you can successfully monitor safety, efficiency, and journeys across your organization, from customer flow to queue management to the effectiveness of digital signage and promotions. Visit fastsensor.com to learn more. The OmniTalk Fast 5 is also brought to you by Takeoff. Takeoff is transforming grocery by empowering grocers to thrive online. The key is micro-fulfillment, small robotic fulfillment centers that can be leveraged at a hyper-local scale. Takeoff also offers a robust software suite so grocers can seamlessly integrate the robotic solution into their existing businesses. To learn more, visit takeoff.com.